Hello and welcome back to Goodknitkisses. This is Kristen and kind of have an odd thing to show you today. It's kind of a strange little sample I worked up. But I had a lot of questions with people about the Martha Stewart loom and what yarns work best on it. And I wanted to give you a nice big visual here. What I used is a medium weight yarn. It's actually labeled as a number 4 if you're looking at the numbers from Lion Brand. This is a Vanna's Choice yarn. It's similar looking to a 3 worsted weight, but it's a medium. And what I've done is worked up a sample, and the right side over here I did 10 stitches wide of the fine gauge, so using every hole with the smaller peg, and then I did 5 stitches wide of the large gauge, every other hole with the larger peg. And they look like the same amount on the loom, and show you how they shrink up or not. And then I did some as a single knit and some as double, and then I went back to single again. And what I did is I started down here, and the first number on here is telling you how many strands I used and telling you that this is a single sided panel, single knit, sorry. And then this is the large gauge over here, and this is the small finer gauge down here. It's hard to kind of tell on here, but I want to tell you that the nice 2 is a nice thick, going to be warmer setup here with the yarn. Sorry. It's going to be a nice panel to create here for warmth, with using 2 strands. Now, if you use, if you use 2 strands here for the single, it's a nice loose soft feel, like you could do a hat. But I'm going to pull the stitches apart real quick and show you. You see the gap in this white fabric below. You can tell that this is going to be a little bit airy, so it does pull apart when you do that. So you might want to have 3 strands if you're using this weight. I think it would work well for 2 strands of, say, a bulky or number 5, or 1 single strand of a super bulky, a number 6, if you're doing a single knit on the large gauge. And then moving upwards, I started doing some double knitting. This is still the large gauge, this is still the small gauge. We're double knitting, and we're still with the 2 strands. This knits up a little bit thicker here. It looks nice, but it's still loose. You can see the holes. So that's why I ended up going to a 3, and this is going to be a nice thick panel here. There's not going to be a whole lot of gaps. You can pull on it and feel it, but if you used 2 strands or 3 strands of a 5, you really would be doubling up. This large gauge loom is actually a little bit wider than some of the mass market looms at the stores, so it has a little bit more spacing on the large gauge on the Martha Stewart loom. And then I continued on the large gauge, and I went back to single, and I thought I'd add in a strand. And so this is with 3, and it is very thick, very nice. You could totally do this for a hat. I think it'd be perfect. I actually did a little bit of a garter stitch to see what it looked like. So it gets nice and bulky and thick. So 3 strands. I don't think you'd need any more than that on a medium weight yarn. Going back over to the single, I've got 2 strands, single knit, small gauge. Then I moved up to a double knit. These are all E-wrapped or twisted knit stitch. And so I've got the 2. I think it works just fine on the fine gauge. 2 strands is great. And then I actually went down to 1 strand, and it's loose. So I think that you would definitely need 2 strands on here unless you want a more airy look. And this is a stretchier stitch, so keep that in mind. I did it in this stitch because this is what a lot of people are familiar with and do only in the E-wrap and the twisted knit, so or the figure 8 stitch. And then this is going back to a single knit item. This is 1 strand, small gauge. I'm going to pull this off here so you can really see it a little bit more. But if I pull on it, you can see in between, but it's a nice thin fabric. It still feels well when I'm not pulling on it. You can see that I can't see through it. When I pull on it, yes, you can. So, but it is a good stretchy fabric, and it works well with 1 strand on the fine gauge. So Thank you so much for tuning in to Good Knit Kisses. I hope this helps. Again, if you're going to do a large gauge loom, I would suggest a number 5 or doubling up on the doubling up on the 5, or do a super bulky number 6. And on the fine gauge, you can definitely do a single knit with 1 strand of medium. Thank you for tuning in to Good Knit Kisses. Have a great day. Happy looming!